Hello, welcome to the Always Be Comedy podcast. Our guest today, Tim, it's Hannah East. We hadn't met Hannah before. Tim, what a lovely dude.
A lovely, lovely dude. This is the Always Be Comedy podcast where we chat to comedians and then we find out their dream gig. We've recently revamped the intro, so now we have to say it. So apologies. It is, we're going to chat, we're going to find out their dream gig. Hannah East, a superb, one of these people who started doing videos during lockdown and it's just gone absolutely bananas, to the extent that this is a major tour extension because their first leg sold out in, I believe, was it 4 minutes?
It was 4 minutes. You are listening to Too Loud 2. If we put a clip up and it gets 100 likes, we both feel like Mr. Beast. And so her numbers and what she's achieved is unfathomable. Also, our extra soft spot, because as I've often waffled on, I was a sports reporter for around 10 years, journalist for around 20. Hannah East was a sports presenter, sports correspondent. You may have seen her across television. So we get into that. Fascinating. Also, make sure you stay until the end when Hannah, who's a very gifted mimic, bangs out a couple of impressions.
Oh, yeah. There's some big old impressions in this one. Yeah, it's super stuff.
For the tour, if you Google Hannah East tour, you will find all Hannah's dates. Tim, it's called Hannah East Express Yourself. Tim, there's an express milk gag in there. The poster pic tells its own story. Glass of Prosecco in one hand, dummy in the Prosecco. Is that Savlon in the other hand? You get the idea. Breast pump on and so on. If you Google Hannah East Express Yourself, Tim, the tour kicks off Walsall Arena. Jesus wept. Incredible. 20th of February. You know what? We'll just give you the URL because the website does great work. hannaheast.com/comedy and all the dates are there. It's a punchy old tour. And Tim, you're right. Loads of them have sold out already.
Yeah, there's been a roaring success already. And yeah, we're already in extension 1. I can see extension 2 happening soon enough, you know.
Now, Tim, we have lots of other comedy sensations at Always Be Comedy in the coming days and weeks. One has just walked in now. We're recording this at the Tommyfield. Sunil Patel has entered the Tommyfield comedy room. I mean, be still my beating heart. Tim, tomorrow, providing you're listening to this on Tuesday, tomorrow we've got Sean Walsh, 1st of October, work in progress from one of the greats. Tim, this Thursday, 2nd of October, strap in. Red Richardson, Rachel Parris, Shalaka Kurup.
Big gig. Massive gig.
That's a big old gig, isn't it?
Yeah, that's crazy.
New material, Monday the 6th of October. Lou Sanders, Paul McCaffrey, Samira Banks, Alice, India. Daniel Fox, work in progress, Tuesday the 7th of October. If you go on our website, you'll find the likes of Sarah Keyworth, Sam Campbell, Maisie Adam, Phil Ellis, someone else who's going down a storm on the new Taskmaster, and many more, including our Chelsea shows. In the meantime, here is the maestro, Hannah East. Hannah, thanks very much for joining us. We're very grateful. To anyone that's not seen you live or doesn't yet have the ticket, please can you talk us through the tour?
Okay, so my tour for 2026 is basically, it's aimed at parent. So it's that postpartum mum life. It's called Express Yourself. And the poster is essentially me looking with a breast pump over one tit, like I'm lactating, and a wet patch on the other. And I've got Calpol syringes in my hair. I'm holding a glass of Prosecco with a dummy in it and some Sudocrem and baby wipes. It's just that getting the late pregnancy stages, having the baby, how that impacts relationships and stuff, and the comedic side to that, which not all of us can see in that moment, as we're about to be severed with a watermelon coming out of us. And then it's that, it's that postpartum feeling as you go home with the baby. So, and it's just looking at kind of the funny side to it, because I think if we didn't laugh about it, a lot of times we will and would cry. So that's the general basis around the writing of the show.
Where did the love is the love of comedy, is that a lifelong thing? Because you've got, you're so successful with the sports presenting and so on. So where did that come from? That, because you must really want to do the comedy to
I
pursue
do,
it in
I
the way
do.
yeah.
It's funny because I used to do impersonations
Yeah.
when I was about 9. And the local radio used to ring me and say, right, can you do an impression of Fred Elliott next week, or Janice Battersby? Or can you do, and they would give me people to impersonate, and then on Talent Tuesday. And then I'd go on it the week after, and I'd practice all week. I was 9 years old. And I went for an audition for a talent show on ITV, and Ian Bevitt, I think he's one of the producers for Coronation Street, he was on the panel, and he was like, I was there with like a sweatshop jumper on and my hair in like little pigtails, and I was doing impressions of men and Anthea Turner, Fred Elliott, and he was just like, I don't know where to place you here, because you're 9 and you're talking like a bloke in his 60s. Like, I don't know how we can progress you through this. So it was one of those where I was like, oh, maybe it's not going to happen for me. But I always knew that was a side of things I wanted to do. So I used to impersonate teachers every Friday in assembly. I mean, they must have hated me, but they asked me to do it. So I'd put wigs on and write little sketches and take the piss out of them every week. And then I guess it kind of came into fruition when I was a contestant on The Gladiators in 2008, which is actually where I met my husband. He was one of the head trainers on the show, and Ian Wright and Caroline Flack were presenting it. And they kind of said, Ian Wright, one day I was stood in my lycras, and he said, oh, Hannah, could you just read that auto cue for me? So I was like, okay. So we were having a bit of a laugh, and I love football. I love sport. I always have. And we were chatting, and he said, oh, you should be a presenter. Like, you should get into presenting. And I thought, I kind of suppressed a lot of that kind of acting and going on the stage and stuff. And I thought, maybe I should. Like, I love it. But it's like, how do you get into presenting and having like talkback experience in your ear? It's tough. So I got a job on a shopping channel on Bid TV. And it was one of the most horrendous jobs I've ever had, because you're essentially selling shit to people that are willing to watch the program. So I had to tell my boss at the time, I was like, listen, I'm getting a double income. I was working for the governing body of swimming at the time. And he says, I won't tell anyone, but you have to say buzzwords on a Sunday, because I had like the graveyard shift on a weekend. And he used to say like, bananas, or so I'd be like, oh my goodness, like we're going bananas for the ruby ring, like it's incredible. And it was a staff Christmas party, and he said, I was like, I can't go because I'm on Bid TV, but don't tell anyone. He got pissed and told everybody, and they put TV in the pub where they were. And then one of the people that was there was actually one of the producers for the Olympic Games, and was like, well, she could present at the Olympics for us. She could do, and then it's sort of the presenting sort of spiraled. But the comedy was always like within the presenting. But the sports presenting jobs I've done of like BBC, ITV, it's very serious. You don't get to have that much banter with sports people because they've got their agents there. And I worked for Man United for a while, and he's interviewing, if like Wayne Rooney comes in, his agent is dictating what questions you ask. So it wasn't until I had my second kid, and our electrician was like, I was on mat leave, and he was asking me questions. And he said, you should do comedy. You should get into stand-up comedy. That would be a great bit. And I thought, maybe I should do that. That was 8 years ago. Did one of his courses, didn't realize that the electrician was actually an MC. Jay Neal is brilliant. And in a nutshell, of like 5 minutes of me giving you my life story, that is how kind of my comedy journey started, really. And the presenting's kind of gone on the wayside, really, because I've got 3 kids as well. So yeah.
Do you not, like what you're saying there, do you not think that because I do a lot of TV warm-ups, so I've worked with Gabby Logan a lot down the years, and I think she's phenomenal, so funny. So I don't include Gabby in this because Gabby is, I think she's an actual comic as well. But I sometimes wish that our some of our sports presenters, I wish they'd have a bit more fun. Is that because of the constraints they're under because the sports stars are quite serious?
It is, and I've interviewed a lot of footballers, and I've been doing brilliant interviews with them. And if they've got 3 minutes to be with you, I remember I interviewed Di Maria once, and his agent literally just put his hand in front of the camera and was like, "We're done." And
Why?
I was wrapping up. I was like, "Listen, thank you so much. It's been a great, and all the best for the game this weekend." And it was like, arm in front of the camera, and it's like, why did you do that? But they've got a job to do, and if they're doing 20 interviews in a day, it's like, right, come on, we need to wrap up quick. So I've found that there's only a certain level of banter you can have with a sports person that's in that professional environment, in an environment that they can't swear, or they might not be able to talk about their kids or their family or the day-to-day stuff that would probably make them a lot more relatable to compared to how they actually come across. I mean, some of them are dull as dishwater, but everybody is. They probably say the same thing about me when I've been interviewing them. I don't know, but it's a really weird industry sometimes.
I think sports entertainment thing is really changing because of things like the overlap and stick to football and so on. Like, it is becoming more and more relaxed. Now, I don't know if that's something you can do only if you're a national treasure and you haven't been playing for a decade now. But I'm wondering, will that impact like current sports people, or is it just you have to make sure there's no fans who are going to scream at you if you say something? I don't know what my question is.
No, sorry. I think I could not agree more. When I watch the dudes on those shows, Paul, right? Person that I'm thinking of when you're speaking there, Tim, Paul Scholes, right? When he was a player, he barely gave an interview. He barely said 2 words, and now he's one of the most fascinating people on YouTube.
Him and Gary Neville, they're both.
You're like, where was this guy? Where was this guy when you were playing? Paul Scholes, you're the funniest person in Britain. Where are you? Where was this 20 years ago?
Yeah, I wish. But again, that is probably down to a lot of constraints with interviews and stuff as players, where say this, say that, don't say this, don't say that, and citizens have just maybe lost in a Manchester derby, and it's like they're not going to be going, well, do you know what? Like, whatever. Do you know what I mean? I was out last night with the lads, wasn't I? 20 pints deep this morning. They can't say any of that stuff, so it has to be like really clean cut and professional.
Yeah.
Do you not think we the public, we're desperate for a big name footballer to be funny, aren't we? I mean, I've got my Palace hoodie on. I mean, I've got to know some of the players a bit. So let's take Palace out of this, because those lads are fucking diamonds. And there's a picture. Anyway, I could talk about Palace all day long.
Okay, but don't. We're good.
I promise I won't. I mean, the listeners have suffered enough. So you're absolutely right to say that. But I think with footballers, if a footballer even gives like a glimmer of a sense of humour, we're like, oh my, what a character! The bar is so low, isn't it?
It is. And I've found in the past, if I've asked a question, trying to get it, so in my head I'm thinking, oh, it'd be great if he said something funny. And you ask a question, and you look at you kind of like, when you're little kids at school,
yes,
do really well in a play, and you're looking at them and stuff like, with your thumbs up, going, go on, say something funny, do something funny. Yeah. And then you don't get it back because they're being professional, and you're like, oh, that could have been so good. And you try and set them up to say something. But then your job as a presenter is very much in the background. Like, it's about them. Everything is about them and their response and questions. So the better you can ask the question, sometimes you get a bit of something, but, not always.
Who's been the funniest that you've interviewed where you've gone, oh, this person they're actually really funny?
Do you know who I really like Juan Mata, who used to play for Man United.
Okay.
Really, really nice guy, quite witty. I like Wayne Rooney. He's got a good, like, cheeky sense of humour.
Rooney also, we're all discovering now, the more interviews he does, and the stuff he's done with the overlap guys and so on, he's so much cannier and shrewder and cerebral than any of us. I mean, you probably knew because you knew him from the MUTV stuff, but we, the public, we didn't realise that when he was a player, just how his insight is. He's so erudite, isn't he? I think whenever he's on a podcast or the like, I think he's fantastic.
It was quite funny a few weeks ago. I went to watch Usher in London, and we were checking in, and there was loads of people like whispering, and I was like looking around thinking, oh, what's going on? And this woman was like, oh my God, it's the meme girl, it's Hannah East, the meme girl, like that. And I turned around and I was like, who's that coming from? And basically, I don't know if it's Wayne Rooney's cousin or a friend, but Wayne and Colleen were checking in. She had a curlers in and everything, and Wayne's cousin, I think it was asking me if she could have a selfie because she follows me on Instagram and watches my videos. So at this point, obviously, my husband was like, this is the dream, huge United fan. And Wayne and Colleen sort of came over and were like, I had this selfie with this lady who was with the entourage. And yeah, my husband was like, oh, Wayne, I think like, at the awkward, oh, I think you're great.
Yeah.
And then, reference some of his goals and stuff like that. And then as they left, my husband was like, honestly, that's one of the best things ever. That's just me. And I was like, well, it didn't really happen to you. But he's like, what chance would you ever get to just chat to Wayne Rooney? So he was like, you keep making your reels on Instagram, Hannah. You never know what might happen next. Could be like Ronaldo's wife. I was like, I don't think so, but I don't think Ronaldo's wife's going to watch my Instagram, babe. But
you never. I mean, look. I mean, the stats, the viewing figures, and so on. I mean, we're talking about television. I mean, the TV viewing figures compared to what's going, the likes of what you're doing on social media. I mean, it's the game has changed, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. Like the other day, Pink, the singer, she shared one of my videos on her stories. And I was like,
Jesus.
Hold on a second. Pink is like in a Hollywood mansion somewhere. And somehow her algorithm is the same as everybody else's, where it's like, fucking hell, the kid's been a nightmare today. Or, I've had a terrible day of parenting, or the kid's pooed on the floor, so whatever it might be. She's been talking about that because one of my videos has come up on her algorithm, and then she shared it. And it's like that. If somebody said that to me 2 years ago, that Pink would share one of your reels, and I'm literally sat on my spare bed talking about day 3 after having a baby, and I'm chewing on a baguette. And it's this food everywhere. And I was like, what's going on here? It's a different, like you say, it's a different world now.
When did you realise, hang on a minute, this is more than just me posting a funny video? There's a career in this. Was there a moment where you're like, I can actually park, mate, this is insane that I'm even saying this. I can park the TV presenting so that I can pursue my love of comedy. I mean, it's, preposterous.
Yeah, I think I had my third baby 2 years ago, and when you do sport and events, you're away for a chunk of time, and you'll be going to like a big event somewhere. Like I did the Olympics last year. I was away for 2 weeks, which, leaving a 1-year-old that I was still breastfeeding, I was lactating like a pressure washer before I left, trying to get the milk supply and stuff while I was away. But I came back from the Olympics and I was like, I'm done. I hosted the football there, and I was like, I'm done with sports presenting as such. I did a job for the BBC a couple of weeks ago, the Tour of Britain, cycling, and people think it's really glamorous because they're like, oh, you'll be in like a fancy green room and there'll be celebs there. It's like, I did the voiceovers on my iPhone underneath my son's bunk bed with a cover around me, and they were sending me the script, and I was like reading it, like recording it on my phone, just literally WhatsApping it back. And then it was my son's 7th birthday party, and the tour was finishing that afternoon, so I had to go out to my car in the car park of a football venue, and with a duvet around me, and I was audio recording it.
Oh my God.
That went out on TV that night at 7 o'clock. And people are like, oh, what's that woman doing with the duvet? And I was texting my friend, and I was like, please don't let them start doing the cake until I get back. I've just got 2 more links to do for the BBC. It's like, what the fucking hell has my life come to here? It's weird. It's weird.
How have you found live performing the comedy? I know obviously the years of live TV presenting must help, but how long did it take you to find your groove, if you like?
I mean, it's such a weird, stand-up comedy is such a weird thing to do. And I always think to myself, before I go on stage, I'm like, oh shit, what am I doing? I'm so nervous. And I look for a fire escape, and I'm like, I could run out of there before they say my name and nobody would know. Matter. But I feel like the whole presenting side has given me that like confidence when I'm on the stage. So that bit isn't the issue, but the actual writing of comedy, when people say about callbacks and the different rules and stuff, you're like, hold on, what, like, do you not just stand up and chat? I remember the first time I did a bit of stand-up on this course, and it was like the instructor was like, oh, just tell us a story as you tell your friends. Now, I'm very much like my comedy that I would enjoy most is if I was on a building site with a load of builders, like on the Lad Bible, like that kind of banter is for me. And I remember I said something like, "Oh yeah," and I kind of tried to exaggerate like the whole lads, lads, lads. And then the guy running the course was like, "So would you, if you did that at a comedy night, people would just be put off straight away?" Because that's not, it doesn't come across as being you, and the way you've said it doesn't be. And I thought, oh God, comedy is like so different to what I thought it was going to be. And it is such an art. Like when you watch clips of people touring and it's like a 2 minute bit, you don't realize how much has gone into that 2 minute bit and actually how clever it is to write it, to make it funny. It's really is an art that I'm definitely learning in the 8 years that I've been doing it. It's tricky, I think, sometimes.
Have you been doing I take it you do like you've been doing the clubs across that 8 years
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
learn this.
I've done a fair few pubs in Leicester. I remember I thought, oh, I'm going to start doing a bit of like mum comedy. Because that's relatable to me. It's finding your feet, isn't it? And
Of
what
course,
deliver is relatable to you, telling
that's
your
right.
stuff rather than making stuff up that's not true that you think might make people laugh. And I remember this guy was drinking red wine in a pub, and there was literally about 10 people there, but I was desperate for the spots, the 10-minute spots. And this guy was drinking his red wine and he just fell asleep. And I was so fixated looking at him, thinking, like, I know he's not my audience because he was about 65, 70, and I'm talking about mums and breast pumps and all that. And I thought at that point it would have been easy to quit and say, I'm not going to do it because that one man fell asleep and didn't find me funny. But actually, I was like, it's important that I look at it and think, well, he's not my audience, but that's okay because not everyone is going to be your audience, but it's finding that niche, for example, online where my stuff is parenting. So parents follow me. And that's kind of, it doesn't mean I'm not going to be funny to other people that have like grandparents or people that have had kids, but it's a weird thing to do and overanalyze it's a long drive home if you've had a shit gig, isn't it?
It is, but I think you need the shit gigs though, don't you?
Yeah, you do. You absolutely do. Yeah.
I mean, one of the reasons why your career fascinates me so much. I was a sports reporter for 10 years, right? And so
Yeah.
I love all the nuggets of wisdom from the likes of Michael Johnson. Yeah, I think he's such a great pundit. The ex-Olympian. But I mean, a lot of those guys would say that you do. It's such a cliche, I know, but you do learn more from the failures. Because if every gig you're doing is a 10 out of 10, you I don't know how much you're learning from that. When you have the tough ones, I think that's where you realise that you've got to adapt certain things or learn certain things. So I think the guy with the wine in many ways might have been the best thing that could have happened to you.
Yeah, I agree. Because afterwards I thought that's fine. I really learned from it. And then I did the same set a week later, and it went so much better because
Yeah,
there was about 20 mums there from the school, and they were like, like really cackle laughing.
sure.
I thought, oh, thank God I didn't not do this gig the week after because my confidence just went on the floor from that previous gig. But I did the same thing again, and it stuck a little bit better. So I was happy with that.
I think what you just said there would have struck a chord with so many people. We have a lot of people that listen to this pod are people either they're just starting comedy or they're thinking about getting into comedy and so on. And the amount of comedians that quit because of that one bad moment or what have you, and it's such a shame, isn't it? You've just got to get. I know it's easier said than done, but you've just got to get back on the horse.
Yeah, because you're going to die on your ass. Like it'd be weird. Like you say, if every gig was a 10 out of 10, you're going to do a gig and it's going to be shit. And afterwards you'll think, oh, and then you might go to the toilet at the venue after and people are going, they'll recognize that you've just got up and done a spot. And if you weren't very good, they just won't say anything. And it's a bit like, oh, but actually, if they like you, they'll be like, oh, that was really good, that was. And then all of a sudden you feel great because somebody's complimented you. But I think a lot of times when you're up on the stage, I don't notice the laughter and the clapping.
Sure.
But you kind of feed off it while you're doing it. But on reflection after, I record every gig now, but which is key for me because how I analyze the gig and how I thought it went in my head, actually, when I watch it back, it was quite different. Where I think, oh, nobody laughed at that bit, when actually they did. That sometimes when you're on a stage, you just don't hear it as well. So
I think it's there's a comedian called Glenn Moore who did lots of Mock the Week, and he's on Absolute. I
yeah,
think it's Glenn Moore. He says that see, how does he describe it? His gig sensory perception is a disgrace.
Yeah.
So he says that he's died on his arse. So he's walked off and he's gone, oh my God. And then the other comedians are like, oh my, you amazing, you know. So I think it's important to watch back sometimes, isn't
I
it?
worked with him before, and he said the same thing when he came off the stage, and he absolutely smashed it. So polished, all of it, and his timing was just amazing. And he was a bit like, oh, I'm not sure about that. I was like, what do you mean you're not sure about that? I was like, I had to go on after him. It's like, shit, so good.
What's you are, look, Tim and I, we consider ourselves busy boys. We get up early and we work early and we're finishing late and so on. But I know that we're singing to the choir here because how many things do you juggle? There's
Oh, don't. It's ridiculous.
the
I
podcast.
run an online fitness business.
There's the fitness business.
Yeah, so I do that.
Sorry, go on. I'm mansplaining your life here. Sorry, you go for it.
No, because I'm going to get you to join in on some of my sessions soon. I've got an online fitness business. So I do 4 live workouts a week for basically mums and dads that are time short. Then I've got 3 kids. I do Instagram, like my content for that, and reels and advertising and stuff. And me and my husband have got a student letting company in Loughborough. So that's our like bread and butter that we set up together. And then, stand-up comedy as well. And then I do a podcast, and it's called No Parental Guidance, which is we get some brilliant. We had Davina McCall on last week, and we've got some really good guests lined up talking about parenting, making people realize that actually it is a bit of a shit show for everyone, and that's okay. So yeah, I think that's everything.
When you start getting into comedy and you're pursuing the live comedy, I mean, maybe I was going to say in your wildest dreams, because the rooms you're playing, I mean, these are big old rooms. Was this always part of the plan, or when whoever you're doing the tour with, when they said you can play these rooms, were you going, yeah, this I'd manifested this, or were you like, are you fucking joking? Is this? I'd love to know what that process has been like.
It was Amy from the event company that messaged me. I think I had about 50,000 followers on Instagram, and she reached out and was like, you should do a tour. And I remember laughing, and I literally was like, yeah. And she was like, honestly, Hannah, like mums will want to see what the content you're putting out there. They want to go and see that. And I was like, yeah. And I remember I told my husband, and I laughed. And I said, as if she thought that I could do, because I would say tour, because I'm from Yorkshire, but it's tour. Try really hard to say tour. My husband was like, well, maybe you could one day. And then Amy contacted me 3 or 4 months later, and she was like, I'm coming to Loughborough to see you. We're going to have a chat, and then we're going to look at doing a tour next year. So that's kind of how it happened. So she said she got these dates. And when she sent me this spreadsheet, I was like, my God, the Lowry Hotel in Manchester, like that, there's like nearly 500 seats. And I was like, Amy, I'm not going to sell those tickets. People aren't going to want to come and watch like that many people in one venue. And then the pre-sale tickets for 10 venues sold out in 4 minutes. Like literally, I felt like bloody Noel Gallagher. I was like, what's going on here? I'm selling these tickets, and what I've kind of realized now is from like the growth of my Instagram and the skits that I do, it's like it's just relatable. So I try to say the stuff that we think but don't say as parents. Some of it's maybe to the bone. I've got to be careful what I say with teachers and nurseries and all that, but it's just to try and make light of, some days as a parent where you sit down at night and you're like, oh my God, I don't know if I was a good parent today. I'm knackered. I've got to answer the school WhatsApps to like, what have we got? Jeans for Jeans Day, or what is it tomorrow? World Book Day. And I'm like, Amazon Prime it. I just, I try and bring, I just want to make any parents sort of laugh if I can, but I just didn't, I never manifested me ever doing a tour. I never thought this would happen. So I feel very privileged that people actually want to spend an evening with me.
The,
'Cause-
the reason why I said that, I think it's Cuba Gooding Jr. when he won the Oscar, and he initially he'd been like, oh, I can't believe this, and then he admitted years later he was like, all part of the plan. You know, he'd had it all.
yeah.
He'd had it all mapped. Some people have got all this mapped out. You know, it's all part of a 5-year plan or what have you. So the fact that this has been, you know, for you, like each step of the way, like, oh my god, you know, it's remarkable. So the least we can do is research on you. So I knew about the Ian Wright story, but so from that, have you ever had that moment with Ian Wright since where you've gone, you actually changed my life?
So I haven't, and I haven't seen him either. That's it. So Dion Dublin used to come on my football show every week, and he's really good friends with Ian Wright. And I know that he's had a chat with him and said, oh, you know, one of the presenters is presenting, doing TV stuff because of you. But I've never actually physically seen him to like say, listen, you know, it's down to you just saying you should. Because I mean, I was at a wedding in Italy, and I was bridesmaid. We're absolutely hammered. And I got a message on LinkedIn from MUTV. Now I'm sat there with 10 lads, men, that are all Man United fans. And it says, would you be interested? I watched you at the 2012 Olympic Games presenting the swimming. Would you be interested in presenting a show for us? Because we can see, we know that you're a United fan. And so I was like, yeah, very funny. Like, who is it? So I wrote back and I was like, yeah, nice one. Who, you know, have you been on the Limoncello?
Yeah.
I got another message back. And it was like, no, it's the guy from MUTV. And I was like, oh shit, he's actually being serious. And I was like, oh God, I'm really sorry. I was like, sorry, I'm just at a wedding with loads of United fans. And I thought they were all like taking the piss. But it wasn't. And I remember thinking, oh God, this is to go for a screen test. And I was really apologetic because obviously I swore and stuff at this guy. And they were like asking me questions about football and everything. And he said, so what made you get into presenting? I was like, well, I was on Gladiators studying my lycras, and Ian Wright said, and it was immediately as if like Ian Wright said, okay, fantastic. Well, what we'll do is we'll start you next week. Immediately. And it's like the amount of jobs I've gone for, and it's like, how did you get into it? And I think maybe it's a bit of a different story. I don't know. And because it's Ian Wright and he's a legend, he's got me a few jobs. So I'm very grateful to him.
I didn't want to talk about Crystal Palace, but the fact that we brought it back to a Crystal Palace icon is
Here we go.
honestly, I mean, just to even think of Ian, no, that's. I think he would be really chuffed. You know, I think the guy is such a champion. He's such a force for good, isn't he?
Yeah, and he was so good on the show. Like his energy. Because a lot of people you see on TV and you think, I wonder if they're like that when they're not on TV. I wonder if they're a bit of a dick. Or I wonder if they're a bit rude and arrogant, where he was just really chat to all the contestants. And, you know, as you stood there, like say in your lycra, you're waiting for the set to be rigged up for about 3 hours and you've got loads of idle time, and he just made chat to everyone where he didn't have to. He's a really nice guy.
That's the thing, where they're nice when they don't have to be nice.
Yeah. When the cameras are off, there are so many people, presenters that I've seen that just want to speak to who they can get the next job from, and forget about the people that are involved. You know, I always give the most important people to me are the cameramen, the floor managers,
100%.
They are the people that, so when someone comes up to me and says, can I get you a drink? And it's like, I know their job is to make sure all these things are, but actually for me, I'm like, I've got 3 kids and no one offers me a drink. So I'm like, I'm very grateful when I go to jobs and they, like when I did the Olympics last year, I came home after 2 weeks. I remember standing in my kitchen thinking, oh, no one's going to make breakfast for me. Got to do it myself. My own drink. And then it was like, and because we've got this letting company, it's very much like I'll be scrubbing a toilet that afternoon. I remember I hosted the Manchester United Awards evenings once, and I've been scrubbing an oven in the morning, and I'd scrubbed it so hard that I had like the smell of like chip fat on my chest. And I was there in a ball gown, and Louis van Gaal and Sir Alex Ferguson were there, and I had to chat to them. And I remember thinking, as I was like moving around, I could just smell like chip fat. And I thought, I didn't want to say to them, oh, sorry if I stink of chip fat. I've just been scrubbing an oven in one of our houses this morning, like living this double life.
Can I just say, if there's anything about either of those gentlemen, they'd have bloody loved the smell of chip fat. I'd have thought, I'd have thought this has made my day.
I tell you what, she's a catch, this one.
She's a bloody keeper. This one smells like Harry Ramsden's. That's fantastic. Right, we better get to the fun. We've had too much fun. I do feel duty bound to say that. So I am sorry to do this. People who are nice when they don't have to be nice. The amount of Palace players when they want to get from Sellers Park to their car, and they stop and chat with every young fan and have the selfies and all that. Stuff like that. Oh, I love it.
Because they don't have to.
They don't have to.
They don't have to do that, and they don't have to be interested in what people have to say to them either. But it's the footballers that will stop and sign checks. And I know I've mentioned him twice. Like, this is the second time. Juan Mata. But he would stop and talk to everybody, which was really annoying if you're waiting to do a quick interview with him, because I needed to get home to get the tea on.
Of course.
Chatting to everyone, but actually it's really inspiring. And netball, women's netball events are incredible for that, because they've been on netballers have been on a journey from when I started presenting it when like 15 years ago to now. Difference, it's on TV and on BBC, it's got so much exposure, and the netballers will do a circuit around and sign every little girl's autograph and have selfies with them, and that they make a real point of that, and it's amazing. It really is.
I think it's important to say that.
Yeah,
it is, because a lot of sports stars do get flack for not doing enough and what have you, but there are a lot of good dudes out there. Mark Gay some weeks must just want to go home, and the fact that he's got the time of day for hundreds of people and the way he listens to the day he leaves will be the day that I burst into tears, let me tell you that. Now then, imagine you're creating your dream comedy gig. Do you have any pre-gig rituals?
Well, I make the mistake every time I go to a gig. I drive there and listen to my previous gig on my phone. Now, if the previous gig was shit, I still listen to it, which is really silly, because I'll think, oh my God, that bit wasn't funny, rather than just like having my notes and having a read through. You know, you get there, you read your room and you think, actually, they've just mentioned that bit, so I'm not going to do that bit, and listen to what everybody else does. So I listen to my set on the way. And I like to handwrite everything. So I have like handwritten books everywhere of my notes. So I don't, it's such a stupid thing. And then I like to listen to Tina Turner in the car on the way there. That's my ritual.
What a great ritual. Who would MC the gig?
If I had an MC, I'm going to say Roy Keane.
Now we're talking. Now we're talking.
Can you imagine doing a gig, right? Roy Keane comes out, and the probability is people in the audience are not going to be Man United fans. Let's be honest. Like, I'm a United fan. I get it. And if somebody said to him that they supported Liverpool or City, the response, he would absolutely rinse them. And I think I just want him to be on for the whole thing. Like, Roy Keane, he's just unreal. He's brilliant.
Now, you say non-United fans. I do think I'm not a United fan, but I'm going to speak on behalf of a lot of non-United fans. He is beloved, though, isn't he? He's got that special hero quality.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can just imagine him rinsing everybody that doesn't support Man United, but like listening to them. Like, he plays up to it, of course, doesn't he? But he's my favorite, absolute favorite. So he would have.
There's a little glint in the eye with Keane.
Yeah.
There is, isn't there?
Yeah. And I love it when he's on with Micah, and they'll like Monday Night Football or whatever, and like Micah's laughing, and Roy Keane's just livid because he's having so much fun and like detracting from football and stats and what's happening with United. And I love their dynamic. I think it's brilliant. But
great choice. Who would open?
I would say Greg Davis would open. For me, I think he's amazing, really funny, very relatable, and I think he would warm the crowd up very well. I love the In-Betweeners. Any downtime I get, which is probably never, but before I had kids and I used to get downtime, I would watch the In-Betweeners because I'd find it hilarious. So he would be on first for me. Him or Alistair McGowan.
I think we'll go with Greg.
Yeah, okay, let's go with Greg. It was hard to choose, you know.
We love to hear it. Greg's a great choice, and also I think it's one of those guys that, because he had a proper job before comedy, and I think there's something with those guys. I just think because they've got that real world experience, and Greg, like Roy, he's got that hero quality. People, when Greg walks on, I mean, Tim, we saw it always be comedy.
Yeah.
It's like Diana's walked on. The adoration for him, you know.
I love that. Diana's walking on. That's great.
Who's in the middle?
So I would put on in the middle. So I won't say Alistair McGowan. I've done sketches with Alistair McGowan in the past, impersonation sketches. I love him, but I would say Jim Carrey.
Ooh.
Amazing.
Like I just want him on to like facial expressions, any, the mask or like Ace Ventura, any of those scenes. Actually, my kids accidentally watched Ace Ventura and watched the scene where he's like doing a ridiculous snog with a woman where he's like, his mouth's wide open and he just locks his mouth to the side of hers. And that's my 7-year-old and 9-year-old think that that's how you snog. Listen, right? Let me give you a bit of life advice. Never kiss a girl like that at school. It'll never go away. Like everyone will remember that. So I was like, that's not how you snog. And they're like, will you show us how you snog, Pete? Like, will you and Daddy snog? And I was like, no, it's not a porn show, hon. Like, I'm not doing that. It's really difficult with kids, isn't it? But yeah, anything Jim Carrey based, I bloody love.
We've had that a few times. We've put a movie on for the kids, and then it's got partway through the movie, and we look at each other like, oh, I forgot this bit was in this film, you know. And they can't unsee that. Great choice, Jim Carrey. Good God, who would close?
So I would have to say the closer would be Catherine Tate, because I was anything like I was going to say David Walliams, but I love Little Britain, but I was so inspired as that 9-year-old girl doing impersonations from the sketches from Catherine Tate. That's what in my head I thought if I could ever do a sketch show. Impersonations, comedy, that for me would be my dream. And that's me as a 9-year-old little girl. Anything she did on her shows, her sketches were amazing.
She's just so unbelievably talented. I've started showing my girls the Am I Bothered sketches. I've got to be careful which ones they see.
Yeah, you do, yeah.
But I'd sort of forgotten just what a fucking genius she was. I mean, she's just absolutely incredible. Great choice. We had Catherine played Always Be Comedy a few years ago, and it was like having the Beatles down. She's so talented, isn't she?
Yeah. And what's she like with a set?
She was about to go on tour, and so she was doing different characters and different sketches, and it was dynamite. But she used to, she'd done the clubs back in the day, 15, 20, crikey, but it's more like 20 years ago. And I think it was like she'd never been away. She just fit, she fit the room like a glove. It was perfect. We'd have her down every week. And I warmed up for her when she did Nan the sitcom. I warmed that up.
Did you?
Yeah, and again, when she walked into that studio, it's the same sort of Diana thing. People are almost like getting out the chairs to try touch the hem of her dress. She's great pick.
What's amazing is like a female comic, but not just a female comic, somebody that can write, deliver the comedic timing and be so in character that you genuinely believe that she is that character. Like all those factors are so rare to ever see somebody be able to do that. Like she's just incredible.
You're absolutely right. I could not agree more. You've put that perfectly. Because some guys, when they're playing a character, it's such and such in a wig. But with Catherine Tate, you believe that she is a pensioner, or you believe that she is the bolshy schoolgirl. Amazing. Now, has there been an incident that you would love to replicate at this gig?
So an incident that I would like to replicate. I'm trying to think that I would like to replicate. I think that for me, anything that's positive is where you've got men, women, grandma, granddad, teenagers, everybody laughing. Like that's the positive part of it for me.
That's one thing that you've successfully achieved, though, isn't it? And is that because of the socials? Because your audience is all backgrounds, isn't it? It's certain comedians, their audience might be typically in the 20s, or another comedian they might skew slightly older, but you are very much all backgrounds.
And it's not an intentional thing either. It's just because I'm talking when people are like, where'd you get your material from? How are you posting all this content? I'm like, it's my life. I've got a 7-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 2-year-old, and I'm in it. I'm living it. So I'll be like, each week I'll write bullet points of the shit that's happened that week that probably other parents don't talk to each other about, and then I'll make a reel about it. But what I didn't factor in is actually like teenagers would relate to it because they've got siblings that might have done it, or grandparents who have like, oh, I remember that. Like the amount of messages I get from people in like New Zealand and Australia, and they're like, I'm a grandma, or I found that fun. It's like, wow, it's not intentional, but it's just a process that most of us have been through, or see good mates that have been through the parenting journey, that makes it relatable.
Real cut through, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Has there been an incident that must not happen at this gig?
Yeah, well, there is, and I actually gigged with Chris Washington, who's brilliant, and there was a guy on the front row who.
Imagine if that had been the end of the story, and that must never happen again.
Yeah, yeah. Don't edit anything on this one, Jesus.
Chris, listen to this, spitting out his coffee. What? Jesus Christ.
Tell what I've done to her. Jesus. But there was a guy on the front row. I've never experienced this before. And he was fine when I did my set. And then Chris got up, and this guy was going, and I kept making these really weird, they weren't sex noises, or maybe they were for him, I don't know, but it was weird sounds. And Chris was like, it wasn't a heckle, but it was. And Chris was sort of like, listen, are you all right, mate? Kind of like, can I just do my set? And this guy wouldn't stop. And nobody threw, there's only about 70 or 80 people there. And this guy, nobody threw him out because there weren't any security or bouncers, like Janice from the bar with like no teeth. She wasn't going to like knock him out. But it was really awkward. And I remember thinking, I don't know what you can do here, because it really affected Chris's set. And it was professional, but just trying to point out that he's here to do a job. Like, can this guy just let him do his job?
Yeah.
And it was so awkward. I thought, I don't know how I would have reacted if someone did that to me. I would have felt like I just wanted to stop, because everyone was like, no one was listening to Chris in some moments because this guy was being such a dick. It was so frustrating. I felt really sorry for him. It was really annoying.
Tim, we would kick him out, wouldn't we?
You'd have to, yeah. It's really, I mean, thank God I haven't seen anything like that. But like,
it'd be one warning. So you go, mate, you're gonna have to stop making that noise.
yeah.
We've said at the start, no talking on the extra. Come on.
Yeah.
And then what? Strike two and you're out.
Yeah, it has to be one warning, one out, because like that's just impossible. I think that happened at ABC. I also think the audience would intervene, to be honest.
Yeah,
The audience would.
Like, literally, like, what you doing? And because I think Chris is absolutely brilliant. Like, I love his comedy.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
Oh my God. Funny bones.
And it just, I think if he told me what he had for breakfast that day, I'd find it funny. It's the way he does everything. And it was such a shame that some dickhead on the front row was like making these weird noises. And I've just never seen that at a gig before. But Chris handled it brilliantly, and he finished his set and did it, and everybody loved him. But this guy just did it the whole way through. It was so weird.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
How do you unwind after a gig?
So I like to go home, have a glass of red, and watch Catchphrase. What I find is the more red wine I drink, the shitter I become at Catchphrase. So it's a bit of an issue, and then I know it's time to go to bed. Because you're getting to bed late, aren't you, after a gig? It's like a fairly decent drive home, depending obviously where you've been.
Yeah.
And then the adrenaline that you get performing in a gig is like, and then I'm thinking about the school run in the next morning and all that. But that I like to drink red wine and watch Catchphrase. So boring, isn't it?
Well, no, it's very sensible. Have they had you on Celebrity Catchphrase?
No, but oh my God, that'd be the dream. I'm so competitive at Catchphrase.
Hang on, that's doable, surely.
I mean, I need to speak to my agent about it, because that's the next step. You know, we're saying, could you visualize you doing a sellout tour? And I was like, I can't. I can visualize myself on Catchphrase. Let me tell you, that would be amazing. I'd love it.
That's a bit of. Hang on, that's surely some doable homework for the agent
to make it happen. Yeah.
Tim, we'll be flicking channels. Oh, it's happened! It's happened!
Absolutely.
There's a question I wanted to ask actually about the impressions. So we're mates with Matt Ford, right? And I think Matt Ford is like you in that comedian first, who happens to be able to do voices rather than impressionist first, right?
Yeah.
So how Fordy does it is he'll watch a clip of, let's say, Keir Starmer, and then he will say to himself, "Yeah, I can do that," and then he basically he sort of does it. What's your process for being able to do the impressions?
So I will listen to it. Say if it was like I don't know, Lorraine Kelly. So my mum's Scottish, my dad's Irish. So I've grown up with like really confusing conversations on Christmas Day because be like, "Merry Christmas, Hannah, like having a great day," and then my granny would be like, "Oh well, hello there, and happy Christmas, Hannah," and it'd be like, "Sorry, what?" And then you don't understand what they say, and you do that awkward like, "What?" But say if I was listening to like Lorraine Kelly, I would listen to her, but I'd need to watch her because it's not. I feel like you can get the accent and the tones and the sounds, but it's about how they say words, because if they've got quite a wide and they're opening their mouth quite a bit, then you need to replicate that for the sound. So I would listen to it a few times and then just practice it if I was going like doing the school run or something like that, and then listen to it back several times. It's a really weird thing because I feel like I don't really do the impersonations as much anymore, but maybe I do because in my sketches on my reels I'm always putting accents in. I've got a lot of like Geordie mates, or like they'll be like, "Oh, do Sarah Millican or do," and you'd be like having to listen to it quickly and do it. So it's a weird thing, but I love doing it.
Who's been the easiest one where you've gone, "Yeah, I've got that one"?
Well, I would say sometimes Sarah Milligan, it's totally easy to do it. I would say that's not a problem for me to throw my voice and sound like her.
How do you, right, Jay, that's not even your voice, you know what I mean? Like, so when someone does a voice, it's like a bit like their own voice, but everything changes about your voice there.
Yeah, well, it's I don't know how I've just been able to do it for loads of people ask me to do like Sandy Tosky.
Sometimes people say to me, "Sandy, why did you leave Bake Off?" And I would say, "Because I didn't like Paul Hollywood's souffle." I would say that.
And so
That's good stuff.
I could do this all day. You're going to want to get rid of me because I could do it all day.
Hang on, right, that is ridiculous. You've done talk, fucking hell, mate.
I used to do Roy Keane and Jamie Carragher, and I did a sketch where I actually used to do all the football managers and put them all onto YouTube. And it was so, and I'd put like, well, we're not going to win the league at Burnley, Sean Dyche, he says. And people would be like, "Oh, get back in the kitchen, stop trying to be funny," and I'd do all the Premier League managers and I'd get absolutely rinsed. And I remember I did one of Roy Keane and there was like 500,000 views in lockdown. I was like, "Oh my God, that's incredible." The comments were awful. They were just like, "You stupid bitch, women doing in comedy, stop it," because I'd stepped into the territory of...
They all come out the woodwork, don't they? These fuckers, they all come out the fucking woodwork.
And I thought, you know what, I'm not, it stopped me doing it. Because
that's disgusting.
I did with Alex Ferguson, and this guy was like, "How dare you try and speak like Sir Alex?" And I was like, it's just a bit of banter on like YouTube. But
and these will be the exact same people that say things like, "Oh, you can't joke about anything these days," and then you're doing an impression of someone, with affection as well. It's not like you're savaging these guys.
Oh, exactly. It's just impersonating their voice. Like it's, and I'd summarised the Premier League that weekend, because we all had time in lockdown, didn't we? I'd summarised a few quotes that they might have actually said on the TV. So I'd listen back to it several times on Sky Sports and then just do it, like Jamie Carragher and stuff like that.
How do you do Carragher? Because that's such an idiosyncratic style of talking that he's got.
Oh, he's very,
"What we're talking about again, Gary, is the balance. We don't know what's happened to Wayne. We don't know. We just don't know."
That's like, but he's very much, you have to really, I hope that wasn't shit, that one, because I didn't
No.
like it. But he's like, with his mouth, he's so like, and you need to keep making that sound because he's got a wide mouth at the back with lots of saliva.
When he makes that sound, when he does that, know that he's really going to say something from his soul. When
Neville, that's who he's going to say it to.
When you hear the suction sound, you're like, "Oh, Carragher's got something to say here."
He's fuming.
Look, it's easy for me to say because I'm not the one getting the horrific comments for doing voices, but I think Tim would say the same here. Surely you should go back to doing the football stuff as well. I mean, I know that you don't have any more hours in the day, but you shouldn't what I'm saying is, I know we've known you for an hour. You shouldn't let those guys stop you from doing something that you're brilliant at?
Yeah, I think there's some sort of fire alarm going off here. Yeah, I shouldn't. Is that putting you off the record?
I hear it.
No, it's
Okay.
fine.
Oh, great. It's really loud. Yeah, it shouldn't put me off. And I think I've got a daughter. I've got 2 boys and a girl. And I'm like, if she said to me, she's posting something online, but she's going to stop doing it because people are saying she's a female and she shouldn't do it. I'm like, well, I can't not do it because I set an example to her and say, well, it doesn't matter if it's a man. Like, and it's not generalizing every man. There's just a selection of them online that love to come at you as a female if you do impersonations of a man in football. They don't like it, and it's just fact. So it didn't. I got to the point where I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to read like the negativity. It was a bit frustrating, and if I get any negative comments, and it is generally from men on my Instagram, I take a screenshot of it. I should reshare the video, take a screenshot of what they said, and then I'll just say something really catty back to them. Or I'll look through their Instagram and find a picture of them, and then I'll share it. Like once a guy said to me that I was an insufferable cunt, and because I'd posted this comedy reel, and I actually shared his Instagram, and it turns out he ran a women's only gym. And I was like, you can't say stuff like that online to other women. And then women were messaging me saying, we go to that gym, or my friend goes to that gym, she's going to cancel her membership. And I got really nervous thinking I shouldn't have posted that. I don't know what he's going to do. And then I thought to myself, no, nobody, it's not like freedom of speech online to say you are a cunt. I'll go back to my day job of trying to inspire women to train and exercise. Like, the examples like that kind of really stick out where I'm like, you don't do that. It's not okay. It's like 2025. You don't do that.
Good for you. I was that close to going, you go, girl. But, look, all the very best for the tour. It was a real pleasure to chat with you, and thanks for everything. That was really fantastic.
Thank you very much. Lovely to meet you. Thank you.
Huge and heartfelt thanks to Hannah East. Tim, this is tricky. We do our favourite memory. We've never met Hannah East. I'm going to go first, which is technically cheating. I'm going to go for the Sandy Toksvig impression.
Oh, that's the best one, in my opinion. That's a good impression.
She's got that ability that very few have, where it's completely different voices. A lot of the time, an impressionist, it's a variation on their actual voice.
Yeah. Why you're from Birmingham?
Oh, Betty. Whereas I should knock it. I used to love the Frank Spencer impressions. Very gifted. Timo, what are you going for?
Oh man, no, it is tricky, and yeah, you've done a good one. I'm going to say any Ian Wright loving is going to be my favourite moment of most episodes. Ian Wright, I regularly watch his final appearance on Match of the Day. I love it so much. I love Ian Wright. I
didn't want to bring this up because I didn't want to sort of like, when you don't want to one-up someone's story.
Yeah.
So I'll do it now behind her back. No, I once interviewed Ian Wright for a magazine called Balance, and there is a picture of the two of us, and I've definitely been crying.
Wow,
yeah.
Great.
Oh, how old are you? 15? No, it's about 4 years ago.
Absolutely perfect.
It's a Crystal Palace thing. I'm wearing my Palace hoodie. No, Ian Wright means a lot to a lot of people, and rightly so. Sorry, please keep listening. We'll be back this Friday with another bonus episode. Hopefully we'll see you at a show soon. Huge and heartfelt thanks as always, Tim. God bless you. See you soon. Bye.